Greetings, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Kirti, the awkward human, and this is a place where we read, review, and recommend all things books related. So, in my previous video, I talked about 5 books that can help you get started on your reading journey. And for this video, I wanted to make a comparison between 2003 bestseller book Time Traveler's Wife and the HBO series with the same name, which unfortunately have been cancelled after one successful season. I did that. I read the book, I watched the series, and I kind of understand why it got cancelled. So, if that interests you, stay tuned. And without any further ado, let's get started. Before I get started with my review, I want to say that this book has been on my TBR since 2018. Um, I was never too much motivated to read this until I heard that it's getting its own HBO series, and I was really excited and I had high hopes for the series and for the books. But only one of them disappointed me. Time Traveler's Wife is about a main guy, Henry, who has a genetic disorder that makes him jump forward and backward in time. This book is also about Claire Abshire, his wife, an artist. But this is not a normal love story. There is a catch. Now bear with me because first time Henry and Claire met was in 1991 when Claire was 20 and Henry was 28. The second time they meet is back in the time in 1977 when Henry is 36 and Claire is 6. And this was the selling point of the book because how is that possible? How is this love story going to work? But it has potential. So this book revolves around their love story and how they try to keep this huge secret from their family, well, from Claire's family basically, and they're trying to make their own family, trying to find a cure for this time traveling problem that has kept Henry away from Claire for so long. As complicated as this sounds, this book was very good to read, very highly enjoyable book for the reason that it was something different, right? It was not like any other love story. But when it came to the series, they twisted the whole meaning of the book, and we'll get into that. Okay, before we get started, it is important to understand that you cannot fit all the information of a 600-page book into a 2 or 3 hours long movie. It is not possible to give all the small details, dialogues, and information to the viewer just as it is in the book. There are two very different mode of communication, so their style of presentation would be different, right? But it is possible when you have 2 seasons. At least that's what the writers of Time Traveler's Wife thought. They are going to have 2 seasons, but they did something which is unacceptable. They 360 the whole plot of the book and gave you something else. When I saw the first 2 episodes, my first thought was that it's a fan fiction. It's not even an adaptation. It's a fan fiction. There is a difference because they took the characters, they took the somewhat of a plot, and they changed it completely into something else. One of the major loopholes is that halfway through the seasons, into 3 episodes, then when the writers realized that Henry is not 80 but 40 when he is making the documentaries. So now I'm going to give a big spoiler for the book and the series. So if you are looking forward to reading the book or watching the series, skip a few seconds ahead because I am about to reveal something big. Okay, so now it happens to be that Henry is foreshadowing his own death in the series, which is not in the book. Because after a tragedy strikes Henry, he gets his legs amputated, and the time traveling part becomes very difficult for him because he survives from running away and beating people up in the past and the future after he time travels. So it becomes very difficult for him to time travel after he gets that operation done. But in the series, the Henry keeps seeing his own feet at places and he keeps seeing blood, which was very unnecessary, very not into the plot. Yet it was added as a part for the spice thing, and I did not enjoy that because it completely 360 the plot, which made a character development in Henry which was I did not enjoy it. Now, why is it essential to mention this thing? It's because the incident has, of course, some impact on the character that Henry is. The Henry in the book is unaware of the situations, and that makes him very more optimistic of the situation because Henry cannot see him past the age of 43, as mentioned in the book. But this Henry already knows that something tragic is coming up, and which makes him very pessimist towards the whole his own lifestyle, his uh, relationship with Claire, his relationship with his dad, and everyone around him, and it impacts all the characters and Henry's character. That is why it is important to mention this, that foreshadowing was not helpful in pulling the plot forward, and it actually destroyed the character that Henry essentially was. It is understandable that some creative liberty has to be taken. For example, when Henry from the present and from the future come together in Claire's dining room and they explain the situation to Claire's friend so that they can help in the future. But again, in the same scene where Henry's ex-girlfriend shows up and she is made aware of her own death by Henry from the future, who is very pessimist. This whole thing made me realize that writers are good at their work, but they do not understand their limit. They keep on writing until there is no point of salvaging the plot, and then they abruptly end the whole scene. This is something that I felt time and time again in many sequences, and these small changes had made the plot go from one direction to the other. Speaking of Henry's character, he is not likable at all. The book Henry is very positive, he's optimist, he's loving, understanding, caring, and somewhat reckless and a little crude in survival. But the Henry in the series is pessimist, he is neglectful, he is selfish, he is very angry, and he is very dominating, which is very different from the Henry that I grew to like in the book. The same thing I felt with Claire, because Claire in the book is very understanding. I was talking to one of my friends and she told me the best part about Claire was that she was understanding of Henry's situation. She did not get upset about his absence. Uh, but that was not the case in the series. This Henry and Claire were always fighting and bickering about Henry's time travel. I felt that Claire in the series kept nagging Henry about his untimely disappearance and was always agitated about it. Well, with this, I wrap up my review. Thank you for watching or listening to me rant about this book that came out 2 decades ago and the show that has been cancelled for 2 months. But I feel very like ranting about it. And if you like my videos, like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. And if you're coming for the first time, consider subscribing because I post on every Sunday. And for my next video, I am going to review the book Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is my first time reading Colleen Hoover. I am 4 chapters into the Verity, and I am loving it. It's a mystery, thriller, suspense sort of novel. And if you want to know if Colleen Hoover's writing style matches with your reading style, and if you want to know the review of Rarity, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.